But this is where you go in, you buy a property, you fix it up, and then you can refinance it at a higher value because now it's worth more and get most of your capital back and go out and do it again. So doing it that way, we were able to find him enough resources to help him with this process. That's another service we provide is we've got teams all over the country that will help you acquire the property, oversee the renovation, have property management in place, and take care of you because you're out of state. You can't do it yourself. And because we refer so many people to them, the prices stay very low because of the volume. So we were able to set him up. He bought a bunch in Tennessee and Texas, and he was able to get up to 10 with very little of his own money because he would just start with one, get it fixed up, get the values up, refinance, use the money, go do it again. Or in some cases, just borrow the hard money. You borrow hard money to do all that and then pay off the hard money with the loan and get his money back. So in most cases, the property values increased, of course, by the work that he did, and he was able to refinance, pay off the cash flow, pay off the hard money loan, and still get about $300 a month cash flow, even after getting his capital back. So we did 9 more like that. You can see he was able to build a portfolio, create some cash flow. He got 2 of the things he wanted. He needed a little cash flow right now to help him with the startup, but he also wanted a backup plan should that startup never be able to pay him in retirement. Yeah, so now he owns 10 homes. Purchase price was about $60,000 each. Today's value, it was 80. I would say it's up from there because this year was crazy in terms of price increases. He has $600,000 in loans and created that $200,000 in equity. He used $50,000 of his own cash. He has $36,000 a year cash flow, and all homes will be paid off by age 60. He's not in a hurry to pay him back. I was trying to get him to put this towards the loans to accelerate that payoff, but he needed the cash, so this was his plan. All right, Brian, he used the private money plan as well. He did that same method, but he wanted more. And so because he's young and he makes a lot of money and wasn't afraid of the leverage, he had enough reserves in place that if there were vacancies, he could cover it. And so then, once he had those 10 properties in place, he was hungry for more and was able to prove his abilities to family and friends who said to him, all right, I like what you're doing, or he went to them and said, look what I'm doing. Can I borrow from your IRA? How would you like 8% or 6%? If you be the bank, he can't get more than 10 loans, right? But once he did this, he'd proven his skills and ability, and his family felt comfortable being the bank for him and lending to him. So he's building. I know he doubled it last year. He was up to 20 properties last year through private financing. You might know him, right? I'm not sure. But it's very exciting. I mean, the guy works for IBM, makes a lot of money, but he just doesn't want to be a slave to them forever, and he's not obviously going to be. 29, single, and good looking. So if anybody wants to meet him, well, we've got his number. All right. Her retirement. We'll talk later. So she, again, you might relate more to Marie. She owned a home with a lot of equity, but was really stressing out about retirement. She had a retirement plan in place from work, but definitely not enough to meet her needs. So she refinanced her home, and she also used her self-directed IRA combined to buy nine homes. And the beautiful thing about this story is that her daughter has 2 children, and they were living in LA and having a really tough time in LA, affording the lifestyle there, and were in a part of LA that was not a good part. They were in a rough part of LA, it's all they could afford. And the kids were right at that age where that would impact them, that they were with the wrong people, wrong schools. And so one of the things she did is she actually focused on Ohio. The other 2 were more Texas and Tennessee. But she really liked Ohio, and her daughter went out with her to look at the properties and loved Ohio, found it to be a beautiful place to raise children. And so one of her tenants is her daughter. Isn't that cool? And now, they're in this in this beautiful home, and I don't know if you've seen the homes in Ohio, but they're big and beautiful and old mahogany and, you know, just very, very nice lifestyle and good schools. And so she's very happy to have been able to provide that for her family. And she intends to retire there as well in one of those big homes next to her daughter. But the way that she worked it out between refining from her home and then using also the IRA, again, created enough cash flow that she is on an accelerated plan to pay off those homes with the mortgages and have them all paid out in the time that she's ready to retire, which is in 5 years. All right, so again, this slide is a little outdated, but you know, no one needs to tell you what we just went through. You know, it was a landslide, and while prices have definitely gone up, they're not up to where they were, and they're definitely not even close to where they were in the judicial states. So anybody know the difference between a judicial and a trust deed state? Have you guys talked about that here? No? Okay. In trust deed states, it's pretty easy, quick and easy to foreclose. In judicial states, it's not. And the reason the states have those laws is they want the homeowner to not get kicked out so quickly, whereas in California, you can be late on your mortgage and get foreclosed on. I mean, you know, it's very quick. Whereas it can take years to foreclose in the judicial states because it has to go through a court and it has to go through a judge. So during this foreclosure crisis, places that, you know, it got backlogged. So if you go to Ohio or Florida, Pennsylvania, you can look it up, judicial states, just type it in and Google it. You'll see the states that are judicial, and they're the ones that haven't had the bounce back yet. So if you feel like, oh, prices have gone up, I've missed it, you know, and you've missed it in a lot of places. Like, you know, I know you're saying you're getting some in Bakersfield. It's not what it was. It's a lot higher now. And I'm so sad to move to Malibu, and I missed it. You know, just 3 years ago, I could have bought a great deal, and they're gone. So when you look at these judicial states, it's like, I haven't missed it there. And will it come? I really do believe it will, because it's just a matter of distressed property. It always comes down to the amount of distressed property on the market. We're kind of out of it now. Just the number of distressed properties is half of what it was just last year. And so, you know, that automatically raises the median price because there's less distress on the market. And now it's the regular market playing. Now it's back to almost normal. Whereas in these judicial states, it's mostly distressed still. So those prices are still really low. You still have this amazing opportunity to get in way below replacement cost, and where the rents can come in twice, 2% of purchase price. In other words, a $60,000 house might come in at $1,200 rent. You can still get that. And then when you take, you know, the low interest rates, again, back in the 80s, interest rates were, you know, 15, 16%. And look, it just goes down, down, down. And we're down here still. I can't emphasize enough what this slide means. This means if you can get a loan or 10, now there's some lenders that are actually starting to open it up to 20 loans. It's starting. And Blackstone is now starting to lend. They stopped buying houses and they're lending. So this should show you that this is an asset to take advantage of. Low credit. It's like borrowing money from nothing.
Any sign of stated income?
No. I mean, yes, there's starting to be a sign of it, but not like it used to be. Yeah.
I think my question was related to that. Is there a cap on the dollar amount you borrow?
You know, not so much a cap. It's your ability to. It really comes down to your ability to pay. So if you have high debt to income ratio, you'll have a harder time. But if your debt to income ratio can handle a higher mortgage, you're okay. This is one of the reasons I like these states out of town property, out of state properties, because they're so cheap. You're trying to qualify for a $300 to $500 a month mortgage. It's a lot easier to do than one here that's going to be several thousand.
Kathy, as a mortgage person, people that have high income to debt ratio, where would you recommend them to go to be the most likely approved for a loan? Would you say a credit union as opposed to a regular bank like Union or Bank of America?
You know, the regular banks are tough. I have a list of lenders that work with investors. I think it's important to work with a lender who really understands investments. And they're out there. I'm sure Linda has a whole list too.
Generally speaking, you couldn't say one or the other. You have a list that
I
you know
wouldn't,
of.
a credit union would probably not be able to do it, but probably Wells Fargo could, but it's going to be more tedious than working with somebody who specializes in working with investors.
Okay.
All right, so, Houston's another area we like. Right now, the areas where we have really good teams that help you find the property, they help you renovate it, or they renovate it themselves so that you can buy it all rent ready and have management in place. We have Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. Atlanta's gotten really expensive. We still have someone there, but it's been harder to find deals. The hedge funds really went crazy in Atlanta. We have great teams in Cleveland. I just bought a house in Cleveland for $60,000. It rents for $1,100 a month.
There you go. It's a nice ROI.
It's beautiful.
What was the
And
cap rate?
once everything, it's going to be about 14%. Yeah, but I love that, and there's no way that house is worth $60,000. There's no way. It's beautiful. It's a 2-story. It's got the mahogany. It's got a big yard. It's next to a Nordstrom. It's crazy. And Whole Foods is walking distance. I'm telling you, it doesn't make sense. And that's what we used to say, right? We're like, oh, these numbers don't make sense. But now it's like, oh. But there's still parts of the country where you're like, this is crazy. It's overcorrected. It's going to bounce back to normal. And it will probably bounce back to normal in the next couple of years once all these foreclosures move through the court system. So Houston again, so I was saying Cleveland, I like Indianapolis still, Dayton, Cincinnati, Jacksonville we like, Orlando. These are all areas where there's still a real backlog of property. And if you want any more information on any of these markets, we're happy to give it to you. So here this property is through our guy that he buys the properties with his own money, fixes them up, gets them rented, and sells them to investors for below market. So this property was $73,000, all renovated, and it rents for $10.50 a month. If an owner-occupied were to buy this property, they would only have to put $3,500 down, and their payment would be $530 a month. So does it make sense that someone would not buy this and pay $530, instead rent it and pay $1,000? It doesn't make sense, right? Why wouldn't you just buy it?
Because you can't qualify.
Because they can't qualify. Okay, they can't qualify, so they're gonna rent this and you're gonna make the difference. That's the deal. And there's all kinds of things you could do here. You could sell or finance it to them, and we'll talk about that later, but this scenario doesn't make sense, and it won't stay that way forever. Because eventually this person is gonna what? Qualify. And what will they pay? If they can afford $1,000 rent, they can afford for interest rates to go up. They can afford for the price to go up. This house will cost about $120,000 to build. So if a house goes in next to it, if you buy these properties where there's vacant lots and builders are going to come in and the house next door is built and it's $140,000, do you think when this when this renter wants to own it, they pay more than $73,000 when the house next door is $140,000? Yeah, because their payment's still going to be less than $1,000. So it's just exciting to me. I just feel like it's just like money growing on trees, right? It's just it's crazy. So, all right. So for us, the non-owner occupieds, we have to put money down. So $20,000. Still can get about 5%. Your PITI is about $600, and you get the cash flow. So when you look at those numbers and the $20,000 down and the return that you're getting, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice return. All right, so that's why I'm not worried about interest rates going up, and that's why in those areas. In California, is rising interest rates going to have an impact?
Yes.
Why?
Can't qualify now.
Affordability. It's why you got to be careful in California. It's a volatile market. So there will be an impact when interest rates go up, because prices have gone up. Interest rates are gonna go up, right? They can't stay artificially low forever. And we're gonna find we might be in another bubble. But when you look at those numbers, you don't have to worry so much about that bubble. It's not there. And so again, if you're on a fast, if you want to get a loan and, a 30-year fixed loan, which is amazing that such a thing even exists, but you're looking at your lifeline and saying, I don't have 30 years, I need a faster process, this is where you could just look at how quickly you can pay off a loan. So a standard 30-year, this is $100,000, I like, again, I'm using $100,000 numbers because it's easy and you can get properties at that price. If you paid an extra $1,000 towards that mortgage per year, just $1,000 more per year, you'd pay off that 30-year note in 22. So you've already almost cut it down by a third just by paying $1,000 a year extra. Isn't that crazy? If you paid an extra $2,500 a year towards that loan, you paid off in 17. And if you say, that's still not fast enough for me, I need to retire in 12 years, then you would pay $5,000 extra towards that loan to pay it off in 12 years. Your 30-year mortgage could be paid off in 12. You might be saying, where am I going to get the $5,000 to do that? Where? The cash flow. These properties are going to cash flow that much. Isn't that great? It's so exciting. So, all right. We already know foreclosures are dropping. That was last year. They're here now. So foreclosures way declining. If you're wanting to do this, you kind of need to move quickly because a lot of those foreclosures are going to be gone in the next few years. Builders are back. Builder confidence is the highest it's been in 5 years. Housing starts the highest in 4 years. New home sales highest since 2007. Permits the highest since 2010. Home Depot sales up 12%. What does it mean when builders are back? What does that mean to us in the business?
No inventory.
Yeah, it means that we spent the last 6 years not building homes. And we spent the last 6 years growing as a country by 4.5 million people every year. We didn't build any new homes. Very few. And people moved in with each other during that time. And then lots of homes went into disrepair and just need to be torn down. And so the inventory levels are very, very low, you know that. And so when builders come back, it means the housing is coming back, because for a builder who's been through it, they had a hard time. If they're feeling confident enough to build a home, they can compete with existing inventory. Could they do that 3 years ago? Not at all. They could build a new home and just sit there because the home next door was half the price. And that's not the case anymore. So the fact that builders are back means housing is in recovery. And when housing market's in recovery, it means that the United States is in recovery because so many jobs are created in that process. And when you, like I already said, when the house next door is being built and you bought yours for half the price to build, so this house in Texas, again, was $51 a square foot when bought at $73,000, and that was totally rehab. Cost to build is a minimum $100. So you love the builders because when they're building, you're making money if you bought for less than the cost to build. So this is one of the things I love is don't sell. I know a lot of people love the flipping model, and that is a great way to make money, but it's not necessarily a way to invest money. So one is a business, one is an investment. Landlording is the investment side. And so if you don't sell and you just refinance, then you don't pay tax on that money that you take out. And you only pay tax on the gain when you sell, which is important to keep in mind for different strategies. If you're buying in your IRA and you're buying these houses so cheap, as values go up, you can sell it. And that money just goes right back in the IRA, no capital gain. It just goes back in the IRA until you take it out. So if you want to build that IRA up quickly, buy some of these homes that have a lot of built-in equity and growth ahead of them. But even if you buy outside your IRA, why sell it and pay the gain, or, you know, you can exchange it, or just refi it and keep taking the money out to buy other things. Refi till you die. So what kind of risks are associated with leverage? Well, for sure, we've already seen that if you can't pay your mortgage, you lose the house. So you never ever want to obviously over leverage. Buying in the wrong neighborhoods. Please know that I get people excited about this, and then they unfortunately run off and just buy whatever if they get excited. And I can't emphasize enough that there's a lot of people in this business that either don't know the business well enough, or don't have the integrity, or have, for whatever reason, aren't going to take care of you. They're going to take care of themselves. And you'll see, you know, you can go online. Our job at Real Wealth Network is to go and be a watchdog for the investor and find out who's really doing what they say they're doing. I saw a group that's very, very, very good social marketing guys. Like, they are all over the internet. And so I happen to be in Ohio checking out my properties, and I'm just going to go see these guys because they're all over. I better make sure you know who they are. I gotta go see these guys. They sound like they have amazing deals. So I went. I won't say where because you'll know right away. And I don't want to badmouth anybody, but you can ask me privately. And I met them, and they were young. They were 22, almost 24. They were so good at social marketing, right? Social networking, because they are young. They understand LinkedIn, and they understand Facebook. They understand all this stuff, and they are marketing geniuses. They're not so genius when it comes to property. So when they showed me in their enthusiastic 22-year-old dynamite, you know, look at this property, I was so sad. I'm like, who are you selling these to? Oh, investors just buy them sight unseen. Really? How's that working out for them? I don't know. We just sell it through I don't know. Somebody else is taking the blame. They just sell it to a wholesaler and then sells it, marks it up and sells it. And I went into this property that's supposedly rehabbed, and you couldn't even open the oven because there's no handle on it. It was like this old oven. It was disgusting. And they were selling these to investors who, like, paying $30,000 for a property sounded like a great deal. So just know that what I'm telling you right now, you really don't just run out and do it. Don't find something on the internet. You've got to understand this business, and I am happy to take your calls and help you make the right decisions. We love to look at what you're buying. If you want to run it by me, I'm happy to do it. We have a team to do that. But we've got enough years of experience, and we know who's who to be able to tell you if you're going to be okay or not, or at least from what we can see. At least make sure you get an inspection. In this magazine, I wrote about it, so I don't have to go into it too much, but Linda let me write an article somewhere in here, right there, and it's how to vet out property providers and avoid getting scammed. So I won't spend too much time. Read the article, and you'll see some of the really important things to protect yourself. Because a group of SBREIA investors just got taken, and the guys who did it are behind bars right now. But these were like engineers from the Silicon Valley that just didn't even bother to get an inspection or even that go through a title company. They just sent the guy money and didn't even go through an escrow. These are very basic things that you have to do.
Is this the same guy that was heading across the border that got thrown in jail, or was this?
Yes.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I
got
think
one of these
so,
properties. I got one of these properties in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Went through that whole thing with everybody, and I was one of the few people that actually managed to get it rehabbed, managed to get the deed to the property, because most people didn't even get the
They didn't
deed.
get the deeds. Yeah, good.
It's horrible.
There's a lot of ways to protect yourself, so make sure you read that article, and I'm really happy to, I know this business really well now, and I know it through School of Hard Knocks, so I'd rather you not have to go to that school. Buying in the wrong neighborhoods is a disaster. I just had an argument at our last event with a young Silicon Valley guy who said, well, I want C properties, and I want them for $40,000. And I said, that's great. You know, those numbers probably look so good on paper. They wait until your toilet is stolen so someone can go buy some crack, and then you got to put in a new toilet so that could be stolen again. For the next guy who wants to buy some crack, it's not worth it. The wrong neighborhoods will drain you. And if you're smiling, it's because you know it's brutal. Don't believe a pro forma. Gotta buy in a good neighborhood. And I'm still saying, you could get it. My $60,000 house in Cleveland is it's A-rated schools. It's a great neighborhood. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to be in a good neighborhood. You just need to know you're in a good neighborhood. Buying old homes, this is a problem a lot of people do, is they might buy it's like buying the old car and then it breaks down all the time. So if you're gonna buy the old home, make sure everything's replaced. So you have new plumbing, new electrical, new HVAC, so that you're not getting nickel and dimed all the way. That's one way to really lose all your cash flow as well. Inadequate reserves, like I said, you've got to make sure you've got those reserves to pay for any vacancies. And when we run our performance, we always add those vacancies and maintenance reserves. A lot of times people will sell you property and say, wow, it's got this return, but they're not accounting for vacancy and maintenance reserves. Those numbers have got to be in there. Poor property management will kill you. One of the things we have is a good list of property managers nationwide. If you need a good one, we're happy to give you that referral. We don't get kickbacks for that. Although that's a really good idea. I should probably start doing that. Balloon note you can't pay. That killed me. Yeah, you don't want to all of a sudden have to pay a huge note that you don't have the money to do.
They just stopped that in January.
Right.
Well,
The
Fannie
balloon
and Freddie won't buy them, but there are lenders who will still do them. Private lenders, so just be careful. You know, there's plenty of people out there that take advantage. So after all this, if you still don't want to be a landlord, if that just isn't something that you want to do, and there's plenty of people who don't, there's so many options for you still. And we at in our network, and a lot of what we do is online, so just because you're not in Northern California doesn't mean you can't learn. We have weekly webinars and trainings. We have an online academy. So a lot of this information is there. But one of the things, if you just really don't want to be a landlord, you can just sell the property and hold the note. So I'm gonna come back to that slide. But this is a deal I just did in this area between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, right in the middle. They found the largest oil and gas reserve in the country. And I just bought this little property for $42,000, and this is in A-rated school districts.
What's the name of the town?
Newcastle. Yeah. So paid $42,000. I have a guy over there who just does a really nice renovation. This is some samples you can't see very well on the slide, but paid $13,000 for the renovation. And I sold it on contract and these guys helped me through all this. They have their legal team and everything. It cost $1,000 to put this together. The contract, sold it on contract to basically a tenant buyer. So for $89,000, which means they're not on title, although that would be okay. It's just that Ohio is a really tough place to foreclose, so we didn't want to do it. So we're not going to record it, but we have a contract on the land contract on the side for $89,000. So they gave us $2,000 deposit, and we put an $87,000 lien on the property. They are paying that off over 20 years at 8% interest. So the return on this is double digit for sure. But what's even really wonderful about it is they're the owners now, even though they're not on title. They pay for all repairs, they pay for all maintenance, they pay everything. Taxes, insurance, everything. So, yes.
Will you continue to help them through the credit so that they eventually cash you out and get a loan, a different loan?
I don't have that process in place, but I should, because if they did, then that would be a really huge return for me.
Yes.
That would be nice, so.
Are you cold? I can close the doors.
I am. How could you tell? Looks like I'm shaking.
Oh, okay. I was trying to get to one of those refrigerators.
My hands are ice. I know that.
How do you get your renovation money back if you're only taking $2,000 now?
I didn't.
Okay,
Yeah, I didn't on that one.
okay.
But you would take more?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I would take, and we do the same thing. We do the
Yeah.
seller financing, but for the down payment, I would take what I had into it.
Okay.
so that I've got all my money back and then it's pure cash flow.
Okay, well, and then
And
you
your
get a loan on
buy
that?
price is different, but we buy at a lower
Right,
level.
yeah, yeah.
Got it, okay, all right. So this was